Dead Chat Duo Podcast, episode number 27. How's it going, Alexander?
I'm well, thank you. How are you, Andy?
You know, Avengers week is over. It's still pretty bad, but we got through it, I guess.
So we're recording this on a Wednesday. I am seeing it tomorrow, which is a Thursday, which is 6 days after it came out. I think it came out. What did it come out on? Friday?
Thursday.
Thursday? Okay, yeah. So I'm due to see it tomorrow. My wife really wants to see it.
I work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then when I got home Monday, I slept from 6 p.m. to 3 p.m. the next day. So that was fun.
So it's pretty much crunch time, right? Because
it's not going to end. This is just the start of it.
It made $1.3 billion, allegedly, in the first weekend, which is mind-blowing to me that it would make that much. But then again, it is sort of the conclusion, the wrap-up, end game, obviously, if you will. I never saw Infinity War.
It's on Netflix.
I know. So that's kind of my lead-in. This week, it's been crazy, man. Like, I haven't been streaming, haven't been making videos. Yeah. Work's been nuts. My personal life has been nuts. But my wife was like, we should really get caught up so that we can see Endgame before it gets spoiled. Because she works with people.
I knew the ending before it came out.
Please don't spoil it for me.
Leak, but the Tuesday before, my managers watched it with a Disney executive in my theater.
That's pretty cool. And I'm okay with that because you didn't go out spouting from the mountaintops spoilers. It annoys me.
Like LaShawn McCoy?
Exactly like LaShawn McCoy. And I'm you know what? We usually talk about our weeks, so I'm going to just go into this rant here. My week's been stressful, but to add on to all that stress, my wife has wanted to watch Avengers Endgame strictly because people that she knows in her personal life, people that she works with, people that are acquaintances, have spoiled many movies for her in the recent past, one of them being Infinity War. So, one person she knows has kept hinting at things that may or may not have happened in Endgame, and it's annoyed her. You're such a troll. And I know that
texted me. I was texting them like about to go watch Endgame. I'll text you in like 3 hours, and I was like, Wolverine dies at the end.
It's funny because it's funny because at first you're like, wait, what the hell? Because it's a Marvel character, and then you realize he's not in the movie though. Yeah, so like she knows people that are gonna.
Different Marvel movie though.
What?
I'm not gonna say. It's a spoiler in one of them.
Okay. Well, nonetheless, my wife wants to go see this thing now, so I have to go to a movie theater tomorrow and spend over 3 hours in it, which I always hate because I'm going to want to get a Coke Zero.
Sody pop. Get you a large popcorn.
Well, yeah, but then I'm going to have to go to the bathroom, and I'm going to miss, like, a crucial part of the movie. Oh, God. I'm not doing that, Andy. I can't stand people who spoil stuff, man. I'm really big into Game of Thrones. You guys know that. This past Sunday, this is releasing on Sunday, but this past Sunday was Season 8, Episode 3. Huge episode. It's the Battle of Winterfell. They've been leading up to this for 7 years. And there are people on Twitter and Facebook within 15 minutes of the episode releasing, spoiling it. And it just ticks me off. Yeah. How uninteresting are you as a human being that the only thing you have to contribute to social media is you giving a play-by-play of a TV show? I mean, don't even get me started on this one friend I have. I will not mention names. And if they know who they are and they're listening to this, I'm sorry. I love you. You're a cool person, but you need to stop. They will watch a sitcom and they will be on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., and they will be quoting punchlines as the show is going on. Like, you're ruining it for me because when I watch it later, it's not funny anymore.
I quoted a punchline one time on Twitter.
Yeah.
A long time ago. When the man with 45 meets the man with the rifle.
That's not a punchline.
It kind of is.
That's a quote from a great movie. There's a big difference.
It's
I don't know. I hate people who spoil stuff. Not a fan of it.
A joke, but it's like the main quote in the movie.
It is the main quote, but that's a great movie. Anyway, anything else you want to talk about from this week? Like, other than your work? Like, it sounds like all you've done is...
It's never ending. Next week we have the Seth Rogen movie. It's not going to be that busy.
What's the Seth Rogen movie?
The Long Shot. It's him, Charlize Theron.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
That and The Intruder comes out. And then the week after that, Detective Pikachu. And then the week after that, John Wick. And then the week after that, Aladdin. And then the week after that, Rocket Man and Godzilla.
I didn't know Aladdin was coming out that soon.
The week after that, Dark Phoenix and Secret Life of Pets. The week after that, Men in Black.
It is summer, right? Isn't that a thing?
4.
Isn't that a thing? Like, summer is when all the movies come out?
Last year, we only worried about Jurassic Park and Infinity War. This year, it's Toy Story, Lion King, Frozen 2, It Chapter 2.
These are not things... I did not know all that was coming out this soon. I'm only looking forward to...
Frozen's November.
I'm looking forward to Detective Pikachu, and that's about it. I'll probably see that in theaters.
I'll likely be out of there before Frozen 2, which I think Frozen 2 has the potential to beat in-game. In numbers.
You're probably right.
In-game or Frozen 2 will be the biggest movie of the year, and that's such a bold statement.
Because I know Frozen...
Hot take.
I know Frozen was really, really big when it came out. Like, unbelievably
Lion
big.
King has potential to be that big, too.
Although I heard that Frozen didn't do so well in the toy portion, which Disney was a little bit disappointed in. Like, they were hoping that Frozen was going to sell just a ton of the toys, but it didn't really do that.
There's also the new Rambo movie.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on them making Rambos? And like Rambo, what's another example? Like the new Terminator movie. Like movies that just shouldn't be made.
When you say new Terminator movie, what are you talking about?
Apparently, I'm pretty sure there's a new one that was announced.
So, I liked the newer Terminator movies.
6.
I'll probably see it because...
It's coming out November 1st, 2019.
I was one of those weird people. I actually liked Terminator Salvation. I thought it was really good. And then they made another Terminator movie after that I don't remember the name of.
Rambo movie coming out in the same month.
So the Rambo movie, I'm not sure. I feel like... Here's the thing about Rambo. I feel like it was kind of a senseless, plotless movie to begin with. Like, it had a plot.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just a oh, God, this is going to date me. Back when I was a kid, TBS used to do this movie feature. They used to call it Movies for Guys Who Like Movies. And it was, like, action movies, like Roadhouse and Rambo and...
Over the top.
Yeah, it was like all just like guy movies, you know, like action movies. Lots of Jean-Claude Van Damme, lots of Stallone, lots of, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong. Like, The Expendables is it's a movie for guys who like movies type movie. So, like, I can totally see them reviving Rambo and making it make sense. Terminator, it's tough because there's a little bit of lore in Terminator. A little bit.
I have a Rambo hot take similar to my Jurassic Park hot take.
What's that?
I like Hot Shots Part 2 better than Rambo.
You make me sad. You make me sad. I feel like, by the way, this is going to be a really movie heavy episode. Like, I feel like we're talking a lot about movies this episode, but that's fine. I'm okay with it because it's summer and I think that's when movies are kind of at their hottest. And what?
Not summer yet.
Well, not summer yet, but I mean, I'm just saying we're leading into the summer, and that's when movies are going to be really hot. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to Detective Pikachu, and hopefully Avengers Endgame is enjoyable tomorrow for 3+ hours. I think it's a little bit over a 3-hour runtime.
3 hours and 2 minutes.
Oh, you guys know I'm usually not a fan of anything that runs.
There is no after credits. I can tell you that before you wait.
I'm not waiting. I'm going home.
The only thing that happens is you hear some metal clanging. And I'm not going to say what the metal clanging is because it's kind of a spoiler.
Somebody will have it on the internet. I can watch it then. I'm not going to sit there and sit through that because like it's 3 hours and 2 minutes.
But there's no after credit scene.
I'm seeing it at 7:15. I know it'll probably start at 7:30. I'm not going to get out of there until 10:30. I have work the next day. Anyway, let's move on into listener questions. So, we had 2 really good questions. I know we missed a couple this week, so I apologize. Maybe we can address them next week if we don't have any. But we picked the 2 best that we thought would make great content. So, first one, I was really excited about this one. I actually have all my answers written out here. And it comes from...
We should do this one for different sports.
We probably should do this for different sports. Maybe somebody could do that in a future episode. They could submit that as a question. This one came from @CubanSwim on Twitter, aka Bobby. And big thanks to Bobby for being a longtime listener. He asks, one of you picks offense, the other one picks defense. Name your starting 11 all-time team in the NFL. Not Madden, real football. And he asked us to back up and defend our choices.
I claim defense, in which I claimed defense originally because I didn't want to do offensive line.
That's fair.
Because I think that was the hardest. But then when I was making the list, I was like, man, I wish I picked offense. Because you could do so many fun things on offense.
I had a lot of fun picking offense. I went to bed last night.
Because if I did offense, I'd just pick guys I really like. I'd pick like Steven Jackson as my running back.
So I went to bed last night having a defense and an offense in mind. And then I woke up this morning to a text from Andy from like 3:50 in the morning my time saying and that's fine. I don't care because I put my phone in do not disturb after 2 a.m. So like I don't get any notifications, like period, just because like I'm probably sleeping. So when I woke up this morning, I was like, that's fine. I'll have a lot of fun with offense. I had some great defensive picks. I look forward to hearing Andy's defense, and I will let him lead off with his defense.
All right. Well, I guess I starting off. I did a weird defense. I didn't do like a 3-4 or, I mean, technically it's like a 4-2. But I did 2 defensive tackles, a defensive end, and edge, 2 linebackers, 3 cornerbacks, a free safety, and a strong safety. So starting off with the defensive line, I have one of my favorite defensive ends of all time, Deacon Jones. Most of these will be kind of Madden picks because that's most of my history of football. But there's some that, actually, I think there's a person that isn't a Madden anymore. So I want Deacon Jones, defensive end. Defensive tackle is Mean Joe Green. My other defensive tackle is Aaron Donald. Because from personal watching games, he's the greatest defensive lineman of all time that I've ever seen. And then at edge, or you can argue linebacker, Lawrence Taylor. The greatest defensive player of all time.
He has to be on there.
It's a fact.
Yeah, has to be on there.
Linebacker, the greatest linebacker of all time, Patrick Willis. And then next to him, Ray Lewis. Did I say Patrick Willis, and Ray Lewis?
You said Patrick Willis and Ray Lewis. You had it right.
In my head, I mixed them up. That corner, we have some fun ones that I liked. We have Dion, Darrelle Revis, and Charles Woodson. And then free safety, Ed Reed, and strong safety, Ronnie Lott.
It's a good defense, man. Believe it or not, I would say 4 or 5 of those were on my team defensively.
Lawrence Taylor, Ray Lewis.
I didn't have Ray Lewis, but I would have had Lawrence Taylor. I would have had Deion Sanders. Definitely would have had Aaron Donald. I think that he's earned that, even though he's a current player.
Yeah, he's the best player I've ever seen play with my own eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got to be on there. So yeah, it's a good. The reason I really like Charles Woodson is the versatility, because if I was doing, you could switch him up. You could have him play any safety position too, and he could also play special teams because he did that in college as well. So there's some good picks, man. So before I get into my list, I want to kind of give you some thought process behind it. So number one, I know some people are going to go, he didn't pick anybody from the pre-modern era. So the reason I didn't pick anybody from the pre-modern era is because as good as, and I know I'm going to get some hate for this, as good as I think guys like Terry Bradshaw or
Johnny Unitas
might be an exception. But as much as I love some of the pre-modern era football players, I don't think that many of them have games that translate well to the modern NFL era. So I went into this thinking I need guys that could play today. And I went into this thinking I'm getting anybody I list, I'm getting them in their absolute prime.
Yeah, the peak.
And I also considered factors specifically surrounding durability, because I think durability is a big factor in the NFL, and it always has been. And you'll notice a recurring theme amongst the guys that I picked here on offense is that they didn't struggle with injuries for the majority of their career, and they also had long careers. So with that being said, at QB, so first off, offensively, I skipped a fullback. I didn't put a fullback on here because I don't think fullbacks are relevant. I did one quarterback, one running back, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and my O-line. And that gave me 11. And then I added one. I took a little bit of liberty, and I added one guy who would be my third down running back, punt returner, kick returner, like an athlete type on offense.
I picked one of those from my Deion and Charles Woodson.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, it's a 12-man lineup. One guy who basically comes off the bench and does a little bit of everything. So at QB, I had Peyton Manning. And the reason I put Peyton Manning is I feel like he was the most cerebral quarterback to ever play the position. I think that he was also individually, not as a team, I think he was the most individually successful quarterback ever. Nobody could come to the line and make reads at the line, and nobody since has made reads at the line like Peyton Manning did. Nobody had more control at the line of scrimmage to call plays like Peyton Manning did in Indianapolis. Colts Peyton Manning. This is 2005, 2006 Peyton Manning. I want him as my quarterback. Also, gotta say, durable. Before the neck injury, very durable. And he also ran the best play action I've ever seen in the NFL. He ran the best play action. Running back. You need a good running back to make play action work. And I'm going to pick... No, I'm going to pick the most... First of all, the best running back to ever pick up a football. Ever. Period. He had 11 consecutive years with over 1,000 rushing yards. He was an underrated receiver out of the backfield. And he was very durable throughout his career. And that's Emmitt Smith. So I got Emmitt Smith as my running back. Then I got, speaking of one GOAT, Jerry Rice, the greatest player to ever pick up a football, period. I don't think I have to say anything more. Jerry Rice is my number one wide receiver. I also think it's really hilarious, but also a testament to his greatness. He's the number one all-time NFL player in all-purpose yards, despite only playing wide receiver. He never really returned kicks or punts. I know he did a couple, but like he was only a what?
Receiving yards at the age of 40.
Exactly. He was so good for so long. So if I could get Jerry Rice in his prime, that's on my team. Wide receiver number 1. On the other side, on the outside, on the left side, I got Terrell Owens, big game player.
Yeah.
Capable of he can make the big plays. He could be a possession receiver. He's a vertical threat. I think he pairs really well with Jerry Rice on the outside. I know it's kind of 49ers heavy, but that's who I'm going with. Now, third wide receiver, this is a guy I'm going to play in the slot. Sometimes I move him out to the outside. I want somebody that's versatile. I'm going to go Larry Fitzgerald because he was successful in his career at different times in his career playing on the outside and in the slot. Right now, he's one of the best slot receivers in the... What?
Good run blocker, too.
There you go. So... really versatile guy. I could play him in the slot, could play him outside, could do anything with him. Larry Fitz as my third wide receiver. Tight end, this was an easy one. I know some people would say Rob Gronkowski. I know some people would go Antonio Gates. I'm going Tony G.
Falcons or Chiefs?
Chiefs. This is his prime. I'm getting the prime Tony G. Number 2 in all-time receptions in the NFL. As a tight end, that's crazy. He was the best receiver on Kansas City playoff teams for years. Very versatile. I could line him up as a wide receiver. He could block. He could be a tight end. I could do a little bit of everything with him. So that's who I'm going with there. And you can't forget about the hog mollies up front. I went with all these guys mostly due to durability. Willie Roaf at left tackle. Dominant, aggressive, really physical player, good as a pass blocker, good as a run blocker, had a good career in New Orleans and Kansas City. Randall McDaniel, absolute legend, only missed 3 regular season games in his entire career, so I have him at left guard right next to Willie Roaf. At center, I got Dermontti Dawson. If you ever watched Dermontti Dawson play, you would know why I picked him. Ridiculously physical, nasty guy, very durable, had a really good career in Pittsburgh.
I'm thinking of.
I'm sorry?
Is it rest in peace? If I'm thinking the right person? No.
No, I don't think he's gone. Right guard. This is an easy one. Larry Allen. How could you not go with Larry Allen? He was the anchor on one of the best O-lines ever in the NFL in the 90s. And then right tackle, I have Dan Deerdorf. Because Dan Deerdorf can move around. I could play him at center. I could play him at guard. I could play him at right tackle. He was primarily a right tackle. And then as my athlete, the third down running back, the punt returner, the kick returner, the guy who just does a little bit of everything. Darren Sproles. Top 10 in the league. All time in all-purpose yards. I feel like he's a guy who could do a little bit of pass catching out of the backfield as a third down running back. He could certainly return punts and kicks for me as well.
I was thinking of Mike Webster.
Eric Metcalf was another guy I almost went with there.
Joe Thomas missed a game, I think.
Joe Thomas is somebody that was considered. I just, like, out of all the O-line, I found it most impressive that Randall McDaniel only missed 3 regular seasons in an entire, 3 regular season games in an entire career. That's crazy.
Yeah, Joe Thomas played 167 games from his first game to his last game straight without missing a game.
O-line is so hard to play, though. It's all about leverage,
it's cool,
and
it's fun.
And you have.
Hopefully you can hear me because I can't see you. There we go. You're back.
So, like, O-line is such a tough position to play from an injury standpoint. Like, you have 300-pound guys wrestling with you every play. You know? Like, it's crazy that Joe Thomas was that durable, you know, and
he got
didn't.
hurt, unfortunately, last year.
A lot of guys have knee problems. Like, look no further than Tony Baselli. Tony Baselli was incredibly talented, but his knees went out. Orlando Pace, towards the end of his career, that was the same thing. Like, his legs went out on him. It's a tough position to play, man. So, great question from Bobby. It was a lot of fun to do this.
For baseball, basketball,
We
could
should
do it
do
for hockey,
this.
but I don't think Alex would have much fun doing that one.
I don't think that I would be very good at the hockey one. I could definitely give you a baseball lineup, and I could certainly give you a basketball lineup, but baseball for sure. Baseball would be really fun.
Basketball, we could do starting lineup in 6-man.
Here's the question that I wanted to add on to this. So, Andy, you're doing defense.
Mm-hmm.
You get to pick anybody as a defensive coordinator. They could be overqualified. They could be a head coach, but somebody who you get to pick any. Good pick.
He's the best defense coordinator in the league since 2012. And no one ever talks about him. He's extremely underrated.
Good pick. For offensive coordinator, I would probably go with Bill Walsh. And if you told me that, yeah, and it I mean, how could you not though? I mean, he
revolutionized the sport.
Yeah, I mean the guy who brought, to me, Bill Walsh is like Phil Jackson with the triangle offense in the NBA, right? Like everybody wanted to rip off Phil Jackson, and everybody wanted to rip off Bill Walsh, but nobody did it better than they did. So I would pick Bill Walsh, and if I had to pick a second one, I would go Sean Payton.
Was so I don't know, it was so precise that Jerry Rice could catch a ball with his eyes closed, and he could know where the ball is based off his footsteps.
And that's kind of why I wanted to go with Bill Walsh if I was going to pick an offensive coordinator, because part of what makes the West Coast offense so dangerous is a great play action. And I feel like nobody could execute a play action and timing better than Peyton Manning and Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens and Larry Fitzgerald. Like, that would be so nasty. And then when you run it, you're handing it off to Emmitt Smith. Like, it's crazy. This was a lot of fun to think about. Like, and he said no Madden, but like, if all these players were in Madden, I'd build this team. I'd build this team.
I don't think my team would be the best because I have such a weird formation going on, but
you could probably find a way to make it work. Yeah. So next question comes, and thanks again, Bobby, for that question. It was a lot of fun. Next question is coming from Daniel of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. You can find him on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke, or you go to I think it's reasonsI'mbroke.pod.com. But just find him on Twitter, and you can find a link to his podcast. It's definitely my favorite podcast on the internet other than this one, because I'm biased. He asks,
what about the College Dropouts podcast?
Check that one out, too. It's really good. They're on episode 2.
Yeah.
He asks, what is your earliest memory you have of playing a video game?
This is interesting because I did check out the original DCD episode. I watched the first 20 minutes, and we did talk kind of about my side of this.
Yeah.
That's my original memories were with the SNES, playing Super Mario World, Tecmo Bowl, and then the first game I ever beat. I think Alex may know. What is it?
Dude, I always forget what it is.
Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue on the N64. I just remember, just in my room.
Oh, that is the first game you ever beat. I was thinking it was something else because you always ask me what was the first game that you ever uploaded to YouTube.
Yeah.
And I always get that mixed up with the Power Rangers and whatever the first game was.
Sly Cooper, there you go. But Tecmo Bowl, Super Mario. I just remember my original house I lived in, my dad, my brother playing. And I don't remember playing Tecmo Bowl, but apparently my brother would let me win because I'd cry if I lost.
That's fair.
I remember my first baseball game ever, Little League Baseball. The very first game I ever played, we got demolished. And, no one was keeping score because it was T-ball, but I was. And then I cried at the end.
Yeah. When I was in sports as an early kid, if we lost, the coach would tell us that we won in spirit. Like, basically saying you gave a good effort.
Everyone wins. No one keeps score, but I had the score. I was like, I don't remember what the score was, but we got demolished.
Yeah. I know how that goes. So, my earliest gaming memory is kind of a weird one. So, I got an NES when I was 3. So, my parents went out, got one for me, and I had a decent number of games. I don't really know how many, but I feel like I had like maybe about half a dozen. And I had Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt, the combo cartridge, and Tetris, and like a couple Balloon Fight. Maybe Donkey Kong Junior Math was another one that I had. But the ones that I really played the most were Super Mario Brothers and Tetris. And my earliest memory that I can remember is we lived in this it was a 2-bedroom house in Ocoee. And it was a really small house because it was the one my parents bought right after they got married. And they had me and my brother. And I know that eventually the plan was to move out of there because it was really small. But I had my own room. And I remember playing Mario Brothers with the window to my bedroom open. And, you know, there was obviously a screen there, you know, because here in Florida you have to have that. Otherwise the mosquitoes get in. But I remember it was like late afternoon around sunset. And I'm just sitting in my room, chilling, playing Mario Brothers with the window open, and this kid from across the street comes to the window and he's like, yo, man, we should trade games for a little bit. And my mom was like, oh, that's cool. Just go ahead and trade with him. Trade him a game that you don't really want to play right now, and he'll trade you what he has. And he had Tetris, which I think earlier I said I had Tetris. I bought it after this, but I did not have Tetris at the time. So we traded, I don't even remember what I traded him. I traded him one of my game cartridges, and we like agreed to give him back in a couple days. And then I just remember popping Tetris in, and I thought it was really fun. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know how to play the game. My mom kind of teach me, as did my older cousin. But I got really hooked on Tetris, and I thought it was a really fun game, and I ended up buying it. So that's my first.
Did you have the
gaming
Tetris
memory.
effect?
I don't know what that is.
There's psychological studies that I've experienced with the Rubik's Cube before. That if you constantly play, like, it's something like staring at the same thing over and over and over again, like where you're like playing Tetris and you see the blocks going down, to when you're like closing your eyes, or like right before you go to bed and you like your eyes are closed, you see the blocks moving down. Like whenever I first got into Rubik's cubing, I would like whenever I went to bed, when I was closed my eyes to sleep, I would like see a Rubik's cube moving around and like solving it.
See, I've heard about that. I didn't experience that, but what I will say is I do have vivid memories at that age of dreaming about playing Tetris.
Yeah.
So I would go to sleep and I would dream about playing that game because it was a fun game. Like, I really got into it. And then ever since then, like, it's always been a game that I've purchased over and over and over. So for example, every time my cousin would come down, she lived in Kansas, and
I'm kidding.
well, she was in her parents were in the military and they moved around a lot. So like when I was a kid, she was in.
Listeners don't unsub.
Yeah, she was living in Wichita, and then she eventually moved to St. Louis. Whatever, you're terrible, Andy. So
Fred VanVleet sucks.
like, how dare you? So every time she would come down and visit, like, me and her would play Tetris together, and we'd play like things like Mario 3 together. Like, Mario 3 was a big deal when that came out. Like, I don't think people realize, like, Mario 3 was an event when that came out. But yeah, we used to play stuff like that together. And then, like, when I got a Game Boy came with Tetris for the majority of its lifespan. And, like, it was like, oh, great. So I have a handheld version of this game. And then, like, throughout the years, I had Tetris on Dreamcast. I had it on...
I have it on my phone.
Xbox. Every Xbox that's ever come out, I bought it.
You had Anode, the ripoff?
Anode, it was not... Well, I don't want to call Anode a ripoff because it's a different game, but it is similar. but it's a good one. It's
I'm
only
gonna
99
apologize for my
cents.
Fred Van Vliet statement and replace it with Ron Baker sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Van Vliet's all right. Wichita basketball players. So yeah.
But yeah, great question from Daniel. Check out his podcast. It's a good one. Highly recommend it. They've been at it for like over 5 years.
Zack Snyder retrospective, I think soon, something like that.
Yeah, he's really passionate about the DC EU, the movies that they make out of DC, and I guess there's a Snyder cut of, I think, Justice League that has been confirmed to exist, and everybody's hoping that it gets released.
He was the original director.
He was before Joseph Whedon, or whatever the hell his name is. I don't know. He goes by Joss, but it's not his real name. Anyway, yeah, I'm not
care about superhero directors.
Well, I mean, I don't really. I'm just gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm just gonna say this: like, superhero movies, I just like I like them and I enjoy them, and like when I watched Infinity War for the first time this past weekend, I found myself just saying, I look at this like I look at Roadhouse. It's an action movie. It'll never be a great film.
But everyone's like, oh, crack, greatest thing ever.
It's not
My God, go see it. It's so good.
See, there's a difference between fun and great. So, like, to me, film can be art, right? Some of the movies that we've watched on DCD Film Club, to me, they are art. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Even The Lobster, a movie that I didn't like, I think was art. Or The Fountain. There's something behind it.
Road Trip.
Not Road Trip. Not Road Trip. But like, I think the film can be art. I think at the end of the day, superhero movies, and I could be wrong, maybe there is one that comes out one day that I really think is relevant long term.
Logan.
I don't know.
Out of all the superhero movies right now, that's the best one.
See, but even that's a reach. That's my point.
Is it a reach?
I think it is. And like, my point is this. I see people on Twitter every day dedicating so much time to arguing which one's better, when in reality, to me, it's like that old saying, man, no matter how thin you make a pancake, it's still two-sided. Like, it's still the same thing. It's just two sides of the same thing. And I get that one's a little bit darker and one's a little bit more realistic, and then the other one has more jokey elements, and it's brighter, and the way they film it, it's like immediately evident when you could take still shots and you could tell which one's which just based on the brightness and the color palette when they film these things. I don't think either one's really the right way. I would just tell people to enjoy what you enjoy, because nobody's going to watch... I know this is going to get some hate. Nobody's going to watch Avengers Endgame or Justice League or even my favorite trilogy of superhero movies of all time, the Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises. I thought those movies were brilliant. Nobody's watching those in 40 years and saying, oh my God, put it in the Library of Congress. They're superhero movies. They're action movies. It's no different than Rambo. Really, when you get down to it. It's not culturally relevant for an extended period. Like, Gone with the Wind will always be relevant.
About V for Vendetta. That's not a superhero movie, it's a comic book movie, but...
See, that's something that, like, I feel like you could probably shoehorn that into being culturally relevant, like you could with The Matrix. But even The Matrix, which people...
kids superhero movie ever, Sky High.
Get out of here with that nonsense. Oh my God. I watched that with my sister one time on TV.
Sky High is awesome.
It's terrible. You know, like, here's a good example. When I watched the Matrix trilogy, I love it because I was the right age for it.
Yeah.
But as time has gone on, I've realized it's not as deep as I thought it was. It's cool. It explores some really neat ideas. And I think there's some really cool, like, conceptual ideas within it. But it's not culturally relevant 30 years later. It hasn't aged well. And I don't think the superhero movies will either. And I also think that it's getting incredibly saturated. I feel like, again, I know this is going to be a very unpopular, and I'm about to defend something that everybody else hates, by the way, but like, I feel like it's saturated. I feel like there's too many superhero movies.
If I had to pick a single superhero movie that lasted through time, I think I have to go with The Incredibles. Because I'll show that to my kids, and then, they'll probably like it because it's awesome.
I agree. I can't disagree with that. Like, people laughed at me on the first episode that we came back. I picked Incredibles 2 as my movie of the year last year in 2018 because I love that movie. I bought the Blu-ray.
I still haven't seen the second
and all that, and it's good. It's really good. If you like the original, you'll love it. You'll love it. It's good.
You suffer from what's the thing where you have seizures when things flash around?
Epilepsy?
Yeah, apparently epileptic shock happens in that movie.
I didn't know that.
Experienced that.
That's terrible. Theaters. That's awful.
We had to tell people before they went in. They're like, "Hey, if you have epilepsy, don't watch this. You probably don't want to watch it."
Wow. Didn't know that. It's awful that they couldn't experience it because it's a really good movie.
I mean, I'm sure they'll release on DVD where they, dumb it down, don't make it as intense. I don't know what the scene, so I can't explain what causes it.
I'm trying to think what scene could have done that. Anyway, moving on. I did want to talk a little bit. God, this is such a movie heavy episode. The Sonic movie trailer released this week, and I just wanted to get Andy's thought on it before you guys know what I'm going to say about it. So, Andy, what did you think about it?
For you first.
Sure, go ahead.
No, I will get to that after your question. I'm not just going to cut it ahead of you.
How'd you think? What do you think about it?
I actually watched the trailer before you put it in the thingy because I was like, let's see this.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey looks stupid. It looks dumb. This is just like the Sonic version of The Mask.
Jesus.
It looks dumb. Sonic looks better than he did in the original release, of what he looked like. This is what Sonic looks like. It looks better now. But that's my whole point. It just looks dumb. Why is this being made? No offense to you.
None taken.
The Sonic community isn't a massive thing.
No.
So why is this getting made? My questions were to you are, what are you expecting out of this movie as being the biggest Sonic fan I know?
I'm hoping it's good enough to give us 2 or 3 movies. I also expect that it's going to be a kids movie. I think when I watched this, it screamed PG. I can't even see this getting a PG-13 rating. I think this is aimed at younger kids. I think this is aimed at younger audiences. I don't think that this is very different from, say, Sonic Boom, which a lot of older Sonic fans didn't really care for because they messed with character designs and character roles and things like that.
Is that the TV show?
Yeah. And then they made a video game based off of it, but it was only on DS
awful.
and Wii, and it didn't do too well. They licensed it out to a company, if I'm not mistaken, that didn't do a very good job with the property. But when it comes to this, I'm just expecting something that's good enough to get 2 or 3 films out of it. I don't think this is a one-off in their mind. The big question is, will it make money?
Be better than the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Are you talking about the Super Mario Brothers movie from the 90s?
Yeah, 1993.
See, I don't have very many nice things to say about that movie. So
my actual question is, what is your favorite video game movie of all time?
That's a really good question.
Mine, I'm pretty sure you're on the Blu-ray too, which is Mortal Kombat.
I do own the Blu-ray to Mortal Kombat. That might be the one. If I could cheat, I would say Wreck-It Ralph. Even though that's not necessarily based off of a video game. I think that movie was really good and really well done and really funny and clever.
Does Lego Batman count?
I feel like that could.
Because the Lego Batman game came out before the movie.
See, I wouldn't put Lego Batman in there even if I could count it. I'd probably go Mortal Kombat.
I'm still going Mortal Kombat no matter what, but
because I own the Blu-ray to that and I've watched it so many times and I realize it's not great. No, that's terrible. The only thing, and I always forget the guy's name, and shame on me because he's a phenomenal actor, but the guy who played M. Bison in that Street Fighter movie, he was the one redeeming quality of it. He did a great job. But I would probably have to say the original Mortal Kombat movie. Fully realizing that it's not a great movie. It's no different than the superhero movies that I was talking about earlier. Overall, I will say this about the Sonic movie.
Jean-Claude Van Damme is in Street Fighter.
He was not very good in that. So
Raul Julia.
He was amazing in that movie. He makes it worth watching at least once. So he's the one thing that kept me watching that movie when I watched it the first time. So as far as the Sonic movie, I'm going to just really quickly go through it. First off, Sonic fans that are criticizing it, watch it first. Don't criticize it now and not go see it. Maybe go support it. I understand people having hesitancy around the character design. I have some hesitancy around that too. I think that they could have maybe done a little bit better of a job with the character design. However, the more I look at it, the more it looks okay to me. And I kind of get what they were going for. And I will also say that people really criticized, very heavily by the way, Detective Pikachu's character designs. Not so much with Pikachu, but with other Pokemon. And they went through and they changed things, and even then people still were not really a big fan of all of the character designs in that movie. So I would tell people just kind of chill and just see what this thing is like. Myself, I'm really excited about it. I watched the trailer. I laughed multiple times. Thought Jim Carrey as Robotnik is really cool. I think it could work. I realize that I'm in the minority on this. I realize I'm heavily outnumbered on this. But I also think that it's clear that this is a movie for kids. However, that being said, I will be seeing this in the theaters, and I will definitely buy the Blu-ray because it's Sonic, and I love everything Sonic. And I enjoyed the trailer. I watched it at least half a dozen times, and it left me saying I wish I could see more of it. That being said, I realize it's going to be really campy. I realize it's going to be really corny.
The guy that directed it is his first movie.
Good for him that he's getting that. I mean, it's made by Paramount. I don't think that it has anywhere near the budget that Detective Pikachu has.
I mean, I'll give it what I give all Avengers movies. It won't be bad.
Yeah.
It'll just be average.
Yeah. And I mean, I hope it does well. I'm not rooting for this to fail. And all the people on Twitter who are rooting for this to fail, shame on you. And maybe rethink why you want things to... It's one of my biggest pet peeves. I hate when people root for something to fail. I hate when people rooted for Fantastic Four to fail, the latest one. It was terrible. I admit it. It was terrible. I had a chance to buy it on 4K for $10 the other day, and I turned that opportunity down because that movie was terrible. I wanted it to be good. I watched it, and I just wish it was good, but it was terrible.
I was thinking of video game-styled movies, and it reminded me of a movie that people think is okay to good, in which I hate, Ready Player One.
Haven't seen it yet.
I've read the book. Wasn't really that big of a fan of the book. Watched the movie. It's all just like, what's the term? Crowd pleasing stuff.
Yeah,
it's all just crowd pleasers.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. So, I don't know, man. Detective Pikachu, Sonic. Don't compare them. View them individually. Don't be like the superhero movie fans.
That comes out this year, aka Detective Pikachu and Sonic, could potentially break Mortal Kombat as the greatest video game movie of all time.
I think it's more likely that Detective Pikachu does it. But I'm still holding out hope for Sonic, and I'm gonna support it full stop. But don't be like the superhero movie people and sit there and say, "Well, I like the Nintendo ones, and there's this agenda, these people with agendas that like the Sega movies, or vice versa." Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, go see what you like, and don't go into some preconceived notion. I hope it's good. Anyway, moving on to DCD Film Club. I'm excited about this one. This was my pick for this week. It was Alien from 1979. Recently enjoyed the 40th anniversary of its cinematic release. There was also a 4K version that I watched this week in preparation for DCD Film Club that was masterfully done. And in my opinion, this is one of the best sci-fi / horror movies of all time. I'm excited to hear what Andy has to think about it, so I'll let him lead off. Say what he thinks about Alien. Okay, it was all right. Well, there we go.
I'm kidding.
No, fair.
I'm kidding.
It's fair.
I'm joking. I wanted to see your reaction because of... Well, unfortunately, you guys didn't get to see it because the file corrupted, but he went on a big old rant about me liking The Lobster. I'm kidding. I gave it a pretty decent review. I think mine actually might be higher than yours. Maybe not. I don't know. Very solid movie. First time seeing it. Kind of ruined by the fact that I already knew that Ripley was the protagonist, in which I could tell in the movie that wasn't really a thing that you're supposed to know till like an hour and 30 minutes into it. Like the last was spoiler till like the last 3 people are alive.
It's 40 out. It's 40 years past. I think we're spoiler okay. Yeah.
I've also seen the most iconic scene in, you could argue, cinematic history, the chest burster.
Yeah.
Which also it's kind of ruined by the fact that I knew a lot about it before going into it, but I still really enjoyed it. There's a lot of things I didn't know. Like, I didn't know that the face huggers and the xenomorphs were basically it was like a butterfly, I guess, like caterpillar to butterfly. I just thought they were different species.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never seen an Alien movie. Well, I did watch Prometheus or Covenant or whatever, which one.
Well, Prometheus is basically the prequel.
I watched Covenant.
Yeah, Covenant.
I watched the sequel to the prequel.
Yeah, Covenant comes right after. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say spoiler warning. If you don't want to get spoiled, pause.
It's 40 years old.
I mean, I'm just saying, someone may get mad. It's 2019. People get mad if you spoil Game of Thrones the day after. People get mad if you spoil that Luke is Darth Vader's son. I don't know. But it was genuinely surprising whenever Ash was a robot. Because even mid-fight, when like the milky substance was coming out of his head, I was like, what's going on here? Is this just like bad practical effects? And then when it actually happened, I was like, okay. Wow. Completely did not see that coming. It was a very solid movie. Super suspenseful. It like never gives you a break at any point. And big shout out to Jonesy the cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I found a fan theory.
Yeah.
That Jonesy and the Xenomorph are BFFs.
You know, it's something that I've heard before. And
because the whole movie, he doesn't kill Jonesy, and Jonesy's near the Xenomorph the whole movie.
It has some credence. So I did think it was interesting, before I go into my thoughts on the movie, that you were like, oh, that milky substance coming out of Ash's head, like, I don't really know what's going on. Because initially, when I first saw this movie, I was like thinking it was the blood from the Xenomorph, like that the Xenomorph was in him and controlling him. And then that's why he attacked her, right? And I'm like, oh no, it got into him because he was in the non-quarantined area. Like maybe it's in him and it's controlling his thoughts, and like that's why he's attacking. And then they hit him on the head and his head comes off, and you're like, oh, he's a robot. So like that was a really, but what I liked about that is it kept me guessing, you know? Yeah. And I think that's what makes this movie so cool, is the first half hour, I know it starts off a little bit slow, but it keeps you guessing throughout. Like you don't know what's going to happen next. And I think that's what makes this movie so successful, because, you know, again, spoilers, but they go and this face hugger gets latched to a crew member, and they very stupidly disregard standing orders of, if that happens, like, they're SOL. You just leave them out.
Which the whole time you find out that the Ash is wanting to keep him on the ship.
He betrayed him. He brought it on, and he brought them into a non-quarantine area. And like, there's several moments where the movie just keeps you guessing, and you're always left in suspense. And I think that's why it's successful as a horror movie. Like when the facehugger detaches from him, he goes back to normal. He's eating. Yeah. He's hanging out with the crew. Everything seems normal. You're like, oh, they dodged the bullet. And then the chest burst scene, right? And it just that's the one thing that makes this movie so successful. And I think that's also what makes it feel like a horror movie. And then also at the very end, when Ripley thinks that she's finally escaped, she hasn't, right? There's still more. Like, it just keeps coming back. Like, it just doesn't go away. It keeps coming back. It's almost this unstoppable force. And I think that's what makes it, to me, like, I know a lot of people view this as strictly a sci-fi movie, but to me it means it is a horror movie as well. And it's very successful on that front. A couple of notes that I put as I watched this for probably the 10th time. It's the first time I watched it in 4K. I think the 4K version was incredibly well done considering the age of the film. A lot of movies, when they do it to 4K, they don't scale it up very well. This one I felt like was done incredibly well. It was overseen by the original director of the movie too, which I think is worthwhile in terms of mentioning. Yeah, and I'm glad that they brought him in to oversee that process, because the 4K version is just exceptional, and you can buy it right now for $14.99 on Amazon or Best Buy. I got the Steelbook because the Steelbook looks amazing on my shelf. Anyway, I will also say the score in this movie is outstanding. I know they use a little bit of classical music towards the middle of the movie, but in general, it's an original score, and I think it's brilliantly done. Really captures the feel of being out in space, the coldness, the scariness of not knowing where you're going next, the questions you would ask yourself if you were exploring an unknown planet. These are all moments that are really enhanced by the score of the movie. I also think that it was really shot well. Like, they had limited means in terms of special effects at that time. Yeah. And I think while some of the special effects look dated, I don't have any misconceptions about that. I realize some of it looks dated. It still looks pretty good for today. And I can imagine in 1979 it would be mind-blowing. And I will also tell you, as someone who saw it on the big screen in 2004, 25 years after it had released, it was impressive to me then, considering that a movie that I saw that same year was Matrix Reloaded, and I forget the last Matrix movie, which was really good, by the way, but Revolutions. I thought those movies were great in terms of special effects, but I thought Alien, 25 years after it come out, same year I watched that on the big screen as the Matrix movies, and I thought it was really well done. Great story, great series. I would encourage you, if you like this movie, check out Prometheus, check out Covenant, Aliens. It's a great series.
Predator 1 and 2.
You can some are better than others. Like, let's be real. Like, sequels usually don't hold up to the original.
I mean, sequel by definition alone is worse than original, to quote Scream 4.
You're probably right. Yeah. I mean, that's a fair point.
There's an argument. People argue which one's better, Alien or Aliens.
Well, there's things from both movies, Alien and Aliens, that people lift from continuously in sci-fi, in video games, TV, movies, you name it. They've lifted from this movie as an influence.
Itself either.
That's true. My point,
I mean, like The Thing, the original The Thing, the 37, I think, came out.
Yeah. My point in all this is it's a great movie. I think it's one of the greatest sci-fi movies of all time. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed rewatching it. And if you liked it, like I said, I would encourage you to check out other movies in this series. It's a great film series.
Or if you want to watch a newer movie that's worse, watch Life. It's a complete ripoff.
Well, that makes me sad. What also makes me sad is with 20th Century Fox being bought out by Disney, apparently Disney doesn't really see any utility in this license.
Covenant did awful in box office.
Well, that makes me sad because I really feel like this is a franchise that a lot of people enjoy and have enjoyed for a very long time, and it has a very strong fan base. And I hope that Disney reevaluates, because it would be a real shame if there was never another Alien franchise movie, but
2018.
Who knows? I guess all good things have to come to an end. But nevertheless, we do have the movies that already come out. I'm sorry?
The new Predator movie that came out last year didn't do well, and they're kind of like franchises that go together.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, that's not Alien's fault. So, this movie for me, I give it a 9 out of 10.
I think it's the first time ever we've rated the movie the same. I also give it a 9 out of 10.
I'm shocked, but...
Are you shocked?
A little bit, but not so much, because I think this is such a good movie.
What do you think I was going to give it?
Somewhere in the 8s. 7 or 8.
I was going to give it a 4 just to meme you.
So, with that being said...
movie, DCD fan pick.
Yeah.
And y'all picked Something About Mary. Got 50% of the vote.
Well, there we go. So, there's Something About Mary. I'm mad that I didn't buy it in the bargain bin at Best Buy a couple weeks ago.
Something About Mary, 1998.
Yeah. I think they sell it at $4.99.
Cameron Diaz and Ben Stiller.
I think they sell it for $4.99 at Best Buy. And I have no idea if the digital code will work or not, but I'm about to just take a flyer on it.
It is on YouTube, Amazon Prime, iTunes, Google Play, Vudu, all for $3.99, and on HBO Now with subscription.
If anybody's mad that you can't stream Alien for free on any of those or included with any of those subs, well, there you go. Like I'm telling you, I promise you this. Believe me and trust me on this. And 2001: A Space Odyssey. These are the 2 DCD Film Club movies that I recommended. Go out and buy them.
Not my next DC pick, but the one after that. If you get mad about not finding things to stream, I'm gonna apologize about this one because it's gonna be the hardest one to find.
Well, we'll see what that is. In the meantime, we got There's Something About Mary.
Foreign film.
Let me ask you, before we move on to sports, which we only have one topic, but just so I can figure this out in my mind, because I kind of think I know the answer. Have you ever watched the movie There's Something About Mary?
No.
Okay. So it'd be the first time you watching it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a follow-up question on that?
No, I was just curious because I feel like it's a little bit before your time.
It was literally came out a year before I was born.
So when it came out, I was 13. My stepdad was not letting me watch that movie. So by the time I got old enough to watch it, I've seen bits and pieces of it. I've never watched the movie beginning to end.
Looking at pictures, I know nothing about it.
Other than Absence of Malice, I think this might be the only movie that we've gone into that neither one of us have watched.
My next pick, it's not the next one, but the one after.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched it.
Okay.
I know for a fact you haven't watched it.
No, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Film.
I don't watch many foreign films. They don't do enough foreign films here in America, you know?
It's a foreign film from the 70s, and it's animated. So,
okay.
A lot going against you watching it.
No. The chances on that are like 100 to 1. Moving on. Speaking of 100 to 1, Rockets' chances of beating the Warriors with the refs, apparently. Allegedly, I should say. So, Andy has this on here as a topic. I'll let him lead off.
There was a leak in the Rockets. Apparently, they complained that there was 81 missed calls in Game 7 of the 2018 Western Conference Finals. And they're not like mad. They're just like, hey, look at this. Fix this problem. And then Game 1, there was a problem with the refs. In Game number 2, there's problems with the refs. I just wanted to ask, do you think that referees can decide a game based on what based on the fouls that they give?
So, okay, I have a lot of thoughts on this. So first off, I had to think about this when you put it on there, and I had already seen this allegation of 81 missed calls.
By the way, they missed 27 threes in the game.
Yeah.
In a row.
27 times 3 is 81, yeah. I feel like I'm watching College Dropouts episode 2 now.
I did mention that in College Dropouts episode 2.
I'm kidding. I kid. So when I saw 81 missed calls, I had to sit there and go, Alex, let me make sure that you're not going crazy, because I always generally thought that most teams get about 100 possessions a game 75. In a typical NBA game. And I'm looking at the stats from this year, and it looks like the best team in the NBA got about 108 possessions
Players
a game
get 75
on average. Yeah. So to say that you miss 81 calls, you're basically saying a ref missed a call on 80% of your offensive possessions, or even if we're saying offensive and defensive possessions, you're saying they missed a call.
Notorious for using illegal screens. It could be a missed call. Could be just like a Warriors player touching a Rockets player's hand.
See, Andy, if we're gonna nitpick,
it's like this. It could be the smallest thing.
I feel like it's
characterized as a missed call.
I feel like it's the definition of petty. Like, so here's the first thing. Okay, God, I feel like I'm going to go into a rant. I'm going to try to keep it concise. If you want to complain about refs after the game, I'm okay with that. I think it's stupid that the league fines players and coaches when they generally criticize refs or specifically criticize a call that a ref made on a very specific play. I think that's valid. I think that's part of sports. I don't think that we should limit that, and I don't think that they should punish it either. Now, if they say, hey, I hope the ref's family dies in a horrible automobile wreck, Wings of Redemption style, yeah, okay, maybe fine the guy, right? But if he says, hey, the ref missed a travel on this call, don't fine him. It's stupid. He's being objective. If it's an objective criticism, that's fine. This nonsense is petty. 81 missed calls.
Oh, that was leaked.
I know it was leaked, but it's stupid. Imagine sending that to the league office. It's embarrassing. And the Warriors are no better, by the way. The Warriors complain just as much as anybody else.
Acting like the Warriors don't complain. But literally 3 weeks ago, Curry and Kevin Durant were both fined. I think it was $35,000 for complaining about the refs after the game.
And they've sent tapes to the league too. I guarantee you, every team does.
Every league does it. The Boston Bruins did it for the Toronto because the Toronto players were kicking the back of Bruins players' feet to make them fall without getting called penalties.
And some of it's valid. Sometimes it can help the league improve officiating going forward. I just think that this to me seems incredibly petty. 81 missed calls. I don't know how much of that's actually valid or not. Obviously, I didn't see the tape.
Do you think that refs can dictate the ending of a game?
Yeah. To a point.
I just don't think.
To a point.
I think that it barely changes the ending of a game. Like, let's say the game ends like a 1 point difference. Maybe.
Yes.
But the Rockets, I think, lost by 18 points in that game.
Let me give you an example. Okay? I'm not saying this happened. Okay? So, like, anybody listening, I know you guys know I'm a UCF fan because I went there. I'm not saying that's what happened here. UCF was facing Duke, right? Was it Duke in the NCAA tournament? I'm pretty sure it was Duke. And they lost.
Oh, basketball. Not.
Yeah.
Sorry. I thought we were talking about football. Yeah.
So
carry on. It was Duke. Yeah.
Yeah. So they lost that game. They were up by 1. And one of their.
Are you talking about the travel call?
No, I'm talking about the last foul in the game. So if the refs don't call that, it's game over. UCF wins. If the refs
other stuff that happened though.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is a ref could theoretically change the outcome of that game, right? Do I think that refs are doing that? Hell no. Not a chance.
My example I was going to bring to you is NFC Championship game. Do you think that missed call affected the ending of the game?
Yes.
Because I don't.
Well, I know that the counter argument is, well, there were a billion other things that could have gone wrong, or
they got the ball back. They could have won in overtime. They could have scored earlier. They could have not been in the situation to begin with.
A bad call is a bad call. And I think that the league should hold refs
I don't think
accountable
it affects the end
for
of the game as much as people say they do.
No.
If the Saints were down by like 50, that call was missed. The call wouldn't matter.
Well,
but just because it was a close game, people are like, it wasn't the last play of the game either.
It's magnified because it's such a close game. And then the what if scenarios come in. And it's human nature to go what if.
You can do what if. UCF would have won that game if they didn't get a travel call because at one point they stole the ball. They're up by 2 points. And the player ran on the court to go dunk. And he's trying to do a flashy dunk, but he traveled. They would have been up by 4 points. They probably would have won the game.
Okay, well, I mean, I get that, but you're doing what if too. You know what I'm saying?
I'm using the what if example as in like you could what if anything. I wasn't using the what if like that.
Well, that's what I mean. That's kind of my point.
What if Jimmy Garoppolo didn't tear his ACL?
Well,
what if Derrick Rose never got injured?
What if
Lynn Bice didn't die?
I also think that we have to pick our poison, Because right now in the MLB, a common argument that I see going on, and I shouldn't call it an argument, it's more of a debate, is should they get rid of human refs and replace them with robots?
No.
Because robots would be more accurate, right?
People
And
don't want to see a more accurate.
I agree with you. I don't think fans want that. But with that comes a human element. We all know that some umpires in baseball have more lenient strike zones. We also know that some umpires have very strict strike zones. We know, it's a fact. Same thing with the NBA. We know there are some refs that call every little ticky-tack foul. And then there are some refs who just kind of let them play, and then there's a lot in between. So even this week, the Rockets were upset because their quote-unquote least favorite referee was assigned to game 2.
They're 1-8 whenever that referee is there. I'm not saying the ref decides the games. I'm just saying that they're 1-8 whenever he's on the court.
I mean, I also think that referees...
But they also played awful the last game. They wouldn't have won.
But in every sport, I think that players sometimes have a habit. It's part of being a good coach is teaching your players not to get upset about calls. And the Rockets and the Warriors both have admitted that they've let calls that didn't go their way affect their play. And I think that's another way that referees not necessarily determine the outcome of a game, but influence the outcome of a game.
I mean, I guess you can say that, but I don't know. They don't determine the outcome.
It's an interesting debate, and Tim Donaghy, is a good example of somebody who tried to fix games and didn't do it very well. He also tried to point shave in games as a referee, had a little bit of success with it, but not as much as you would think. He was almost as unsuccessful at doing it to avoid getting indicted. If you go back and do the research on it, it's very hard to change the outcome of a game as a referee. This isn't WWE. There's no Montreal screw job. You know what I'm saying?
There's Boston College, though.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're talking about.
There's a 30 for 30 about it, and there's Goodfellas, the movies about it. The guys in Goodfellas did that. Boston College, they got the whole college basketball team to shave points.
Oh, no, you could get players to do that.
They got the whole team.
Yeah. Yeah, Blue Chips was a good movie on that. Blue Chips addressed it. Players can. The Black Sox scandal is a perfect example. Players can change the outcome, no doubt. But refs, it's tough, man. It's tough. You can influence a lot. You can make it harder. If you were completely corrupted.
Is it yes or no?
I don't know. I feel like, no. They don't decide the outcome, no. Influence, yes. Decide, no. It's a big difference. Two different verbs. I mean, you could have a ref go off the rails and eject every player on a team. I guess he could do that, but he'd probably be fired the next day. The NFL fired a ref last year, by the way.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just don't. I will say this. There is one study that was done where they showed a lot of refs in every sport seem to favor hometown teams.
That's recently that hasn't been the case.
Okay.
That used to be a huge thing.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Nevertheless, not looking good for the Rockets. Hope they turn it around because I'd like to see somebody else win, but I don't know. Don't think it's going to happen. Poor Harden with his giant beard that'll never get to shave. So, that's going to do it for this episode of DCD. I I realized it was really movie heavy, guys, so my bad on that. It just kind of turned out that way. I don't think that we really anticipated it happening. Before we get into Andy talking about Celtics, Bruins, Red Sox, and 49ers, do you want to tell you guys, as always, t-shirt link in the description of the audio only and video versions of the podcast. You can check that out. If you buy one, it gets us $6. I will also say that we're thinking about launching a Patreon soon, so that might happen. Be on the lookout for that. And yeah, there's a video version of the podcast, so if you're listening to the audio only version, you can check that out on YouTube. Just search for Dead Channel Duo, not Dad Channel Duo. Maybe that's a future thing. But and then also, if you're watching the video version and you're like, man, I really wish I could enjoy this on the go, there is an audio only version. We're on iTunes, Spotify. You can listen to us on deadchannelduo.com, Stitcher, you name it.
When's radio coming out?
I submitted us to that, and I haven't heard back yet. But I assume that we'll eventually be on there, iHeartRadio. But in the meantime, use iTunes. And speaking of iTunes, if you leave us a review, doesn't have to be a 5-star review. I would hope that it would be, but leave us a written review on iTunes, and we'll give you a shout out. We're really trying to get more reviews on the show. Hopefully good ones, but, be honest. But leave your name in the review so that I can give you a shout out. Andy, take it away with your Celtics talk.
We're trash.
Oh, get out of here with that! I hate you. I said this. I said this last year, and I'm going to say it again.
The Celtics are amazing at home.
Oh god!
The Celtics don't lose at home. The Bruins, game 2. How do you miss so many opportunities? There's like 18 chances to score. It doesn't make any sense. It's the most frustrating loss in hockey history. And College Dropouts Podcast. Episode number 4 coming out tomorrow. Check it out.
Yeah, check it out. I'm going to try to remember to put a link in the description for Andy's new podcast. I think it's just on YouTube right now, right?
Yeah, because, Well,
there you go. Yeah. I mean, it's only on YouTube at the moment, but I'll get a link in there for the channel so you guys can check it out. It's really good. Highly recommend it. But, yeah, that's going to do it for...
Kinks.
Well, I mean, our first couple episodes were pretty trash. So, it could always be worse. DCD 1 was really rough. What's funny is you sent me, before we end, you sent me a screenshot of DCD number 1, and I was like, "Oh God, we didn't have
disgusting.
Yeah, we didn't have a logo." And I put
we didn't have the overlay for watching YouTube until episode 2 that I made. We had the overlay that Alex made. We didn't have a logo because we didn't get the logo till after we recorded it, like the day after, something like that.
I had nothing. I threw that overlay together in like 5 minutes in a rush. Because I kept telling myself, we'll get the logo, and we never did. So, yeah, that kind of got put together in post. Like, I remember we recorded the podcast, if you're watching the video version, without the overlay. So imagine where the overlay is just black. And then I was like, we didn't get the logo, so I guess I got to put together something real quick. So, that's what happened. Anyway. That's going to do it for DCD 27. Check out There's Something About Mary this week for DCD Film Club. Hope you guys enjoy it. I'm hoping I enjoy it too. Never watched it all the way through. And, yeah, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.